Welcome to the Fourth Step Podcast. On each episode, we interview recovering addicts and learn their story with addiction. Through exploring personal journeys, we get a glimpse of the depths addicts fall to and their path in recovery. We hope you enjoy the episode.
Welcome to the Fourth Step Podcast. My name is Kevin, and I am an addict.
Hi, Kev.
Hi. Unfortunately, our dear co-host, Josh, could not make it out today, but we are on location in Ireland. Now, if I get this right, our guest here is Tony.
That's Tony, yes, that's me.
Yeah. And what's your clean date and how long you been clean?
My clean date is March 5th, 1993. So I got 33 years this year.
33 years.
Yeah.
It's a long time.
Yeah.
Now, you said that 33 years is like one of the most amounts of clean times in your fellowship.
That's an interesting question. No, like the Narcotics Anonymous, which is the fellowship I go to, it exists in Ireland since 1979. And the guy that opened the very first meeting, he's still clean. He got clean, and he's stayed clean since 1979. So we do have people with time. Funny enough, you know, we were talking yesterday, and I know one of your sponsors was actually from Ireland.
Yes.
James, you know, he had time, and he would have been one of the predecessors. No, there is good time. I was saying this to you. I think sadly one of the issues that seems to happen is that members get time and they go to the other fellowship. They go to AA, which, by the way, is a fantastic fellowship. But I think sometimes we kind of have an experiential drain. I don't know why that is. I think as an addict, finding recovery here and still in recovery, obviously, I think there's still a bit of that stigma about being an addict.
Yeah, it's the same in the States too.
It's okay to be an alcoholic in Ireland.
Yeah.
Because every family has one.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, it's a way of life, right?
Yeah. You would have seen that in Dublin yesterday when we were walking around. So,
like the pubs are every 4 feet.
It's a big deal,
Yeah. So you listen to an episode or two and you kind of know what we do.
Yeah, it's weird actually hanging out with you here in Ireland. I would have met you at a convention in Utah.
Oh, yeah.
We've had a few mutual friends, and I know, and I know you're friends with Roseanne.
Yes.
Who I know did one of these. So, you know, it's funny enough for such a big world. It's quite a small fellowship in other ways then as well, to kind of make these strange connections.
That's one thing I really appreciate about the program, actually the fellowship, is that we can reach out. We're like, you know how like fungus can be interconnected with their system?
Yeah.
Like I'm not saying that we're fucking mushrooms or anything, but
I've taken a few mushrooms, but that's another story.
Yeah, they're connected. That's for sure.
Yeah, it's amazing. Yeah, I think one of the gifts I've had experienced is having travelled to the States myself, and that the welcome and the care that was shown to me. So I try to, if I hear someone I know is coming to visit, I try and make an effort to make sure that they get to experience a bit of Ireland, because it's a different culture. I mean, our fellowship is the same, but it's a different culture. It is a different culture. Yeah, it's different.
I appreciate it. Everything that you've done for Jen and I and Jake.
Thank you. Yeah.
So we like to start out asking about your childhood, where you started.
Yeah.
Was there stuff in your childhood that was traumatic?
No, there were a couple of incidents. Like I say that sometimes people laugh. You know, I was born very young. I'm the eldest of 5. My mum and dad were quite young when they had me. My dad he'd be like, I'm 55 this year, and my father is 75. So he was 20 when he was married, and my mother would have been 19. Now, I was just, you know, the amazing thing about recovery is you get to kind of look back and you find out so much. I was actually ahead of schedule. You know, my mother was pregnant with me when they got married. It was basically almost like a shotgun wedding.
Yeah.
You know, they'd been going on together for a few years, so they actually had planned to get married in July. But because my mother was pregnant, they had to get married in December. So they came out of the blocks running, basically. There wasn't much planning, or
Yeah.
So they started out very young, uh, very little money, and within 13 months, my next brother came along. So by the time my dad was what, I think just hitting about 30, he had 5 kids.
That's a lot.
Yeah, but
Yeah, young.
good Catholic family. I mean, I would have grown up, I suppose, in a time where Catholicism would have been a lot stronger. So I mean, it was a very stigmatic thing. The way I came about, and funny enough, I believe that kind of was transferred onto me to a certain extent. Yeah.
How so?
I just felt growing up that I was like a burden.
Really?
Yeah, I felt that. I kind of, again, over the years of recovery, kind of looking into some stuff, I probably was kind of kicked out of the pram pretty early, in the sense that, like, I was the baby, and the next thing another, and my mother had my brother, and so I had to kind of grow up very fast.
Yeah, and they just kept coming.
And there was a lot of, particularly my father's side, there was a lot of stuff he had gone through growing up. There would have been a lot of violence in the home. There was definitely some serious mental health issues as well.
Was there violence with you growing up?
No. It's like the cycle was broken.
Oh, that's
Like,
great.
yeah, I believe that. But my father was clearly damaged from it. So his parenting was very difficult to deal with, for me, because I was very sensitive.
Mm-hmm.
But I believe psychologically he battered me. Like, I felt very small and very insignificant. So I had a lot of fear around my father growing up.
I had the same. Yeah.
Yeah.
So there was no like loving, nurturing parent? Strict?
Yeah, strict. But I mean, I kind of can look now in retrospect. You're talking about kind of early 70s Ireland. So I mean, the Irish weren't renowned for being emotional kind of beings anyway. But one thing I learned, and it definitely impacted on me further on in my life and in relationships in general, was the only time I was told I was loved. It became a very strong kind of difficult thing for me to focus on and deal with. The only time I was loved was when I was broken down. If I was after doing something, whatever, being bold as a kid, crying and stuff like that, and then I'd have the arm put around me, and it would be like, we love you. So kind of somewhere inside, I kind of, when someone I was told I was loved, it was like, what have I done wrong this time?
Yeah, exactly. I grew up kind of similar. Like, if I got beat by my parents, they would say, I love you.
Yeah.
So all I knew was love was a certain thing.
Yeah. I mean, I can remember, I'd say I got slapped 3 or 4 times in my life growing up. 2 of them towards the end of my addiction. I kind of look back now and probably say maybe they were justified, because, there was stuff I'd done in the house, and it was unacceptable,
Yeah, I get that.
Yeah. So, but not physically, but very much mentally and emotionally, I was challenged from the start.
So there was a little bit of like emotional neglect.
I would say so. I mean, my father would have worked shift. He would have been in and out a lot. He was very much the provider, like the kind of caveman mentality.
Yeah.
My mother was a stay-at-home mom. She did work when I was younger, but she was basically at home. But even with that, she was childminding. So I probably struggled to get that attention that I wanted at home.
Especially with five kids in the house.
And again, they were young and stuff like that. And we moved house when we were about 10. When I was about 8, about 10 years of age. And my father broke his back to get us into this area where we lived in Cork. So when we arrived there, we didn't have much money. I'm not saying it was never a case of starvation or anything like that. I'm not talking about real poverty, but we didn't have as much as the other kids around us. So there was always this kind of sense wherever I landed, I just felt different.
Yeah.
And I'd had to move schools and stuff like that. But probably the most powerful feeling I have as a child was fear. That's what I would have felt.
Yeah. When you were growing up, did you, when you first started getting loaded, was it you were a teenager?
Yeah, I was a late bloomer. I can look back now in retrospect and see that I was so fearful in the house that I was afraid to break any rules. So I would be one of those addicts who wasn't causing trouble in school. I was a high achiever. Like, I received a certificate because I never missed a day of school. My primary school, I don't know what you call that, kindergarten in the States. My attendance in school was exemplary. I can remember stuff like going to bed wearing my school uniform because I wanted to make sure I was up in time, and I was very structured, very, very, very structured. Sometimes some of my friends today say, is there a hint of kind of OCD about me? I can even remember as a kid, kind of, everything had to be organised. Everything was very structured. I shared a bedroom with two of my brothers. So I was really like, be tidy, do this, do that. But I can remember getting a big bag of Lego one time from a neighbour. The kid had outgrown it. And I poured all the Lego onto the bedroom floor, and I actually organised it. Yeah, so the funny thing, when I look back, it's kind of sad actually when I think about it. Even trying to do something like that, trying to be structured. I had this like dilemma when I was left with the Lego men and the wheels because I didn't know where I should put them.
Really?
Yeah. That kind of, I can see that I could see that my mind was racing even then. And where I kind of was at home, as I said, I didn't feel wanted. I didn't feel overly loved, and I sought acceptance by trying to do the best, but it never seemed to be enough. No, subsequently, I've talked to my father about this. My dad, I'm a parent myself. You don't get a training manual on how to do this.
No.
But he really pushed me. And a lot of that was some of his own stuff from his own background. Mm-hmm. He wanted me to excel in education and stuff like that because that was stuff that was denied him. So I was like fulfilling his dreams.
Yeah.
But it just never seemed to be enough. So you asked me about alcohol. So I would have tried alcohol at the age of 9 and 10 and stuff, taking little sips out of.
That's common in Ireland, right?
Yeah. I would have seen, and I would have seen alcohol around me all the time. So there would have been parties in my house, stuff like that. I can remember sitting in the back of the car, and my father could have had 10, 15 pints. But you see, drink driving wasn't an issue back then because there was very few cars.
Yeah.
But it was common practice. It was common practice for a dad to be driving cars like that, So I had seen house parties, my aunts and uncles, and everyone seemed like they were having a good time. But I was fascinated by it. But again, as a child, we'd been ushered upstairs to go to bed. But but obviously, growing up in Ireland and living in Ireland, alcohol is everywhere. But no, as I said, my parents don't have it. There's no alcoholism in family. My mother didn't drink for years. I mean, just doesn't drink. She just, even, I was only in Cork about 2 or 3 weeks, so she might have one glass of wine every now and then, but my father will have a drink, but he doesn't. He doesn't have the symptoms of the disease like that.
Oh.
Yeah, so I'm the black sheep in the family. Actually, that's the other thing I should have said. I'm the only one with as I said, with the disease. But
it shows up when it shows up.
Yeah. But I know my siblings. This probably sounds judgy. They're screwed up in their own way as well. But yeah. But I have a program. That's why I see it. I'm lucky. I have somewhere to go with it.
Sure. Do you remember the first time you got loaded and what'd you use?
The first time I got drunk, I would have been around 17.
Yeah.
I didn't particularly like the taste of it. I got drunk, but I wasn't. I didn't drink to it. But what do I say? I didn't black out. I didn't vomit. It seemed like it was a bit of fun.
Did it change the way you felt?
I felt part of something. Yeah, I felt kind of more connected to my mates, and I would have been very shy and very repressed as a kid. Now, I had also been sexually abused when I was younger, so I was hitting an age where I was confused because I was so shy and withdrawn and everything. And because I had been abused and nobody knew about it. I wasn't sure about my sexuality. I wasn't this that. That didn't seem to. That kind of stuff kind of disappeared. So I can remember that there was like a relief. There was a relief from the alcohol. Yeah.
Yeah. Stuff like that.
Yeah.
Gets suppressed so far down.
Yeah.
That a lot of times we look back and we go, well, that didn't really affect me. But subconsciously, there's stuff going on.
Yeah.
That trauma.
Yeah.
You suppress it.
Yeah. That stuff didn't. The fact I was abused, that happened when I was about 11.
Yeah.
My brother was abused by the same guy. No, I was to find out afterwards that he was sexually abusing my brother for an extended period of time, maybe 2 years. There was something about me. It happened once, but I knew it wasn't right. I don't know how I kind of put it together that there was something real dodgy in this, but again, having that information, then I noticed that the guy that had groomed me and was abused me and was abusing my brother, I had a hold over him in a strange way. I started noticing he was trying to spend time just with my brother. He wasn't that many years older than us actually. But I reminded him of what had happened with me to keep him sweet, so to speak. Classic stuff. He would be offering sweets and looking at videos in his house, and I didn't. I liked this stuff. I didn't want to be omitted from it. But after a period of time, he found his own way to get at my brother, and that continued. But I just carried on, so to speak.
Yeah.
I just went on and lived. It was.
That's a tough thing to go through.
Yeah. And when that wasn't revealed till I got clean within the household. I'd moved out in early recovery, and I went home, and I was, my parents were in an awful state because my brother had come to them and said, and said he'd been abused, and I kept stum. I didn't say anything because the shame and the stigma about being an addict made me feel like I couldn't tell them that I had gone through the same thing.
But that's about being an addict, not about being sexually abused, though.
Yeah, it was about how I saw them, that I was a burden to them again, that kind of burden stuff, and they didn't need to hear it off me. So I'd say about 9 months later, I happened to just say it in passing, yeah, sure, that happened to me as well. And my mother and father were in absolute shock. Why didn't they tell us? And I remember saying that, sure, you've had enough going on with me with you being an addict.
Yeah, no shit.
Very, very sad kind of stuff. The kind of stuff you navigate in early recovery about your self-worth.
Takes a lot of work.
Yeah, it does. I mean, I was at a meeting last week, and the guy was talking about in his chair, he talked about, his active addiction. He talked about, overdoses and the police and couch surfing and all that stuff. And the way he said it, the normal stuff.
Yeah.
The way he said it really resonated with me, because I realized like what we deem to be normal is so screwed up.
Yeah.
That when you land into recovery and you get clean, it's no wonder it takes so long for the dust to settle to start realizing what is actually normal. As my self-worth is so low, it's taken me years to come up and realize what I'm actually worth.
Yeah. When was the first time you did drugs? What'd you use?
I would have started college. when I was 18, which again was a traumatic thing in itself because I had failed to get the points required to get into another course. And that resulted in a violent outburst in the house. I was pinned to the wall by my throat by my father and saying, if you don't get into a course, you can get the fuck out of the house. Excuse me for cursing.
That's okay.
You know?
The
So
curse.
I got to college and
When you say course, you mean a class?
like a degree.
A degree
course, yeah.
Okay.
I
Gotcha.
didn't get the degree course that he wanted me to get. So I took another one. Which, to be honest with you, I look back, I didn't really want to do. But I was afraid of being kicked out of the house. As you know, I had that overwhelming sense of fear. And I can see, as I said, it's probably stopped me drinking and stuff earlier in my life because I was afraid of getting caught. But I was starting to drink now more regularly at this stage. But when I hit college, I really started drinking. But within a few months, I realised there was a couple of guys in my course. I got a job in a nightclub. I was saying this to you yesterday, like the dance scene, dance music, house music. Cork at the time was like ground zero for it. I got a job part time as a barman, and this was the club where they started playing house music, and the whole subculture of that was there. Different style of dress, lingo, the whole lot. And there was a lot of people smoking a lot of hash and stuff like that. It was a very open minded group of people. You know, there was a strong gear scene there as well. There would have been a lot of people using poppers, but ecstasy. There was a few people were coming back from England with ecstasy, and they were starting to take it. And the whole team, the music, the whole lot, it became very attractive to me. And people seemed so friendly. So my alcohol use had increased at this stage, and I was getting extremely drunk regularly. But guys in my course in college had been in London that summer before, and they had got into the whole rave scene over there. So they were smoking hash regularly, and they were smoking in college. And
So hash was big?
Yeah,
but
it was hash,
pot?
not weed, no.
Huh.
No, there was weed in Cork, but it was grown by the hippies in West Cork. But I know today most people smoke weed, but it was predominantly hash, yeah.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. So one day one of these guys asked me, did I want to go smoke a joint with him? And I said, yeah. I was freaked out. I remember that. I was full of fear because I was kind of programmed to think, oh, drugs are bad, you know.
Yeah.
I didn't know what was going to happen, like. Very, very, very naive, like. Innocent in many ways. But the minute I got stoned, I was like, oh, definitely going to do this again.
Yeah.
I just had that memory. I'm going to do this again.
Yeah, like, oh, this isn't so bad.
Yeah. And I actually, the following day, there was a college night. And I did. They gave me a block of hash free. And I started on my merry way.
So that was it. Let me ask you, when you when you first did hash or got high the first time, did you connect the feeling as like, oh, this takes away
Oh, sure,
all
yeah.
that
I
shame,
mean,
all that guilt?
But I don't know what you say in the States. First of all, I nearly pulled a whitey. You say that, you know, your face was, you know, the colour front went from my face, like, you know, that's what we call it in Cork, like pulling a whitey. You know, when someone gets that stone, it looks like they're going to get sick and stuff. I had that. But I was just laughing at the most insignificant stuff, like, you know. I didn't think about anything. Just having the giggles with these guys sitting in the car. Music was playing. The music suddenly sounded a little bit better, and everything seemed a bit rosier. And what was happening at the same time was with my alcohol use is that was really starting to get out of control. Like this is one thing I say to people. My using wasn't a prolonged thing. I didn't last very long, but my progression was extremely rapid.
Yeah.
So what was happening with the alcohol is I was drinking to blackout nearly most times I was drinking. And the loss of control in that was starting to scare me. Suddenly I found smoking hash. I wasn't blacking out. I wasn't doing this. So it was like I pulled back on the alcohol, and something that I decided with the hash, you know, I'll just have a bit at the weekend. But no, pretty quickly, within 2 weeks, I was smoking every day.
Yeah.
And then I went along, and within 2 months, I started taking, I would have started taking acid and speed and ecstasy.
So
and again,
all of that was coming in?
Very, very, very quickly, because the club that I was going to, that all these drugs were available. And now the gate had opened, and I said, fuck it. And somewhere in my mind, I said, this is my time.
Yeah.
This is my time now. I need to let some steam off. So a lot of interests I had, but just had disappeared. Academically, I was struggling, but I was bright enough in the first 2 years of college to get through it. I don't know how, but I didn't study. But I got through my first 2 years in college. I had been into my fitness and sports. That was gone by the wayside. The way I dressed was changing.
Mm-hmm.
The lingo I was using was changing. The music I was listening to was changing. Everything was changing. And I didn't want to be at home.
But you were still living at home?
Oh yeah, I didn't want to be at home. And my relationships, the three youngest siblings anyway, they were just wasn't interested. The relationship I had with my brother was quite damaged. I believe probably because of there was, well, again, that didn't surface for a long time. I know at some level I held myself responsible for the fact that he was abused. Because I was older. I was only a kid, but there was that. But he was damaged psychologically. Definitely, I can see that. He had issues going on. But we had, that kind of classic sibling rivalry. We just didn't get on. Didn't get on at all. There was a lot of resentment, a lot of hatred, to be honest with you. A lot of physical fights and stuff at times with him.
With your brother?
So I was off doing my thing, and he had worked in the same nightclub as I had. But he wasn't into what was going on. So he went a different direction. So my lifestyle and everything was completely apparent to him, and I thought he was just boring, square, whatever term you want to use. His lifestyle, it just didn't fit in.
Square.
Yeah, I was embarrassed seeing him. I'd be, that's the kind of weird thing. I'd be, if I was around my town with my mates and stuff, and I happened to see him, I'd kind of, oh shit. Because he didn't dress like us, he didn't look like us, he was born.
That's interesting.
Yeah.
Do you have a relationship with him today?
Yeah, it's not great. It's not great. So, I at one stage I didn't talk to him for about 13 years, but there's a lot of reasons behind that. But it turned out he was bipolar. Following him revealing that he was abused, he wouldn't take appropriate treatment for it.
Yeah, so he had his own shit going on.
He was diagnosed being bipolar, and he wouldn't take his medication, so he was very much up and down. And a couple of years ago, he was on a down, but he left rip on me. Said some horrible stuff. And I was in a situation where I suppose I had a justifiable resentment, because I spoke to my parents about the stuff that had been said, and they said completely unforgivable. He needs to say sorry to you, and he didn't. And I just dug my heels in. So we didn't speak for 13 years.
It's a long time.
Yeah. But that involved my kids and everything. And my ex-wife at the time, she would be involved as well. There was a cutting off. It was very difficult for my parents to deal with, because obviously they have two sons that are, they want family dues, Christmas dinners, all that stuff. And they have two sons sitting there who won't even look at each other.
Yeah, that's tough. That happened in our house too.
Yeah, but again, the program works. I just let it go after a while. I've never sought him to make his amends or saying that to me. I just left it go.
Yeah.
Are we close? No. I will talk to him. I'm civil. But I mean, if he told me it was raining, I'd look outside the window. He said that in Cork. We have a connection, but he won't have any kind of deep conversations with me.
Yeah, that sounds like in his time.
I've healthy boundaries. I've set healthy boundaries for myself.
Yeah, that's good.
Yeah.
All right.
I'm okay with it.
So you're progression in getting loaded? That was college, working at a club.
Yeah, quite rapid, as I said, Kevin. And then like a lot of us addicts, we got a brainwave thought, maybe I should sell drugs.
Oh, that's a good idea.
Yeah. It seems to be common enough over the years. I heard it seems to be that generally the end result of that is you turn out to be your own best customer.
Yeah.
Which never ends well. So obviously I was getting more into kind of involved in the criminality of addiction. We were talking about that yesterday about legalized substances and that, but drug dealing and stuff, carrying money. I became known to the police. By the grace of God, and I believe it was by the grace of God, I was never arrested. I had some amazingly close shaves, literally police searching me and missing the drug, putting their hands into my pocket, and the drugs were in the pocket, and they somehow didn't find them.
Wow.
I had some profound moments like that. I had one which I definitely, I am spiritual in nature. I definitely know that my higher power was watching out for me. But the scene was becoming ugly and dirty. So at the start, everybody was all about love and stuff like that. So everybody was on the love bus. It was kind of like a hippie kind of thing.
Yeah.
But there was a lot of money being made in the drugs, so the violence was starting and stuff like that. And I was trying to my moral compass was gone. There were lines I said I wouldn't cross, and I just found myself in scenarios where I was just crossing lines, and I was present when stuff was going on that I wasn't brought up to be around. Violence, being around violence against women.
Mm-hmm.
I'd been reared to respect my mother, and I had two sisters, and I can remember one night coming out of the club, and a guy, he was carrying, so I knew he had drugs, and we wanted to come down after the club. But he started beating his girlfriend up, and I was friends with her. And there was three of us there, and I remember this. The other two guys looked at me, and I just said, let's build a joint. She was laying on the ground in front of us. I just didn't want to look at that. I said, like, that can go over there. I remember saying that. I literally kind of, you'd see him physically gesticulating, like yeah, we'll put that over there. That's not what I'm here for. And there was a lot of that. And there was a lot of fucked up friendships I was involved with at the time, and one or two sexual relationships as well, girlfriends, and it was just
It sounds like shame and guilt around that stuff.
It was just getting progressively worse. It was getting progressively worse, and because of my stature, my size, and stuff like that, the violence just wasn't going to work for me. I wasn't a violent character. I wasn't big. I wasn't a big physical presence, so I was well able to talk myself in and out of situations.
Mm-hmm.
People liked using with me because I could charm the ears off them and stuff like that, and I was funny. The darker side of it just wasn't for me, but I was trapped at this stage. I didn't realise at this stage, obviously, I was in full-blown addiction, but I had to keep using.
Yeah, did you ever think about quitting?
I got into, the classic stuff, the control stuff.
Yeah.
I tried staying away from the substances and just sticking to the alcohol.
Change one for another.
That kind of stuff. The parents at home were starting to realise there was definitely something going on with me, so I was being watched. So I would have tried to be a good boy. I'd fucked up college my third year. So
Were you still living at home there?
Yeah. I lived at home for my entire addiction.
Really?
Yeah, which was an interesting experience in itself. But they, the secret was out. I mean, everyone knew I had a problem except me. That classic stuff. Everyone knew it.
Yeah.
It was causing a lot of tension, anxiety at home. My parents were very much arguing. My father was trying to meet me head on with this. My mother would have been an enabler. But I learned that stuff then, that if my father started on me, I'd get my mother in on the discussion, and I would have the two of them arguing so I could sneak out. So anything to avoid it. But my head was just constant. Paranoia was there, the anxiety was there.
Fear of your dad.
Yeah. I say that I took drugs thinking to expand my universe. I know I was saying this yesterday in Dublin. By the end, my universe was where I could hold in my hand. You know, if it was a can, if it was a pill, if it was a powder, if it was a joint, that was as far as it went. Mentally and stuff, I was at a point where I could barely even get onto a bus. So I could barely even move around my own city. You know, the only reason I went somewhere is if I knew I was going to score.
Yeah.
That was it. But the anxiety of doing that, because I'd get onto a bus and I was convinced everybody knew what I was thinking and how I was feeling, because I felt so bad about myself.
Yeah.
You know, that really self-absorbed stuff.
Your neighborhood shrank a lot.
Yeah. And March 5th, I got clean. March 4th was like any other Sunday morning. I'd been to the club the night before, mashed. But I might as, you know, there was 800 people in there, but I might as well have been standing on a mountain on my own. I'd lost even the connection of that. The whole party thing, there was no party anymore. We used to meet up with guys the following morning. We used to have like a post-match analysis of how the night went, you know, all the gossip and all the other shit. I can remember standing, you know, really exotic stuff. I can remember standing in a ditch by a field. That's where we were. We were just on the edge of a field. Holding, I had a can of cider in one hand and I had a joint in the other. And I remember looking at my hands and listening to this stuff, and it just kind of something, just first time, really, when I think about it, you can't keep doing this.
Huh.
And I went home, and it's like the rubber band snapped. And I just told my parents, I'm done, I can't do this, I'm screwed. I went upstairs, rocking on my bed back and forth, just filled with self-hatred, filled with shame, filled with guilt. I wanted to dive out the window, and we had a concrete driveway. I wanted to jump out that window so I could like swan dive out and kill myself. And then I was beating myself because I couldn't even do that.
Mm-hmm.
You know, so, you know, all the voices in my head going, you know, you can't even fucking use drugs, you can't even kill yourself, you're this, you're that, you're terrible.
Is that the point where you became sick and tired of being
Yeah,
sick and tired?
I was done. And I didn't realise it was done. And I say this, I probably was the first time I'd prayed to something, you know, probably I say this to sponsees and stuff, probably the most beautiful prayer I ever said. I just lay in the bed and I said, God, help me, I'm fucked. That's literally all I said. And I got up the following morning. I got clean.
Was it cold turkey?
Yeah.
Is that a saying in
what
Ireland?
happened is I got clean out of resentment, like.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. So I woke up, and when I told my parents I wanted help the night before, my dad said, look, I've heard all this shit before. You know, they were pretty much washed their hands of me.
Yeah.
So I got up and there was no one in the house. They were gone out. I didn't know where they were. I was to find out subsequently where they actually were. And I just kind of just thought, fuck him. I'm going to prove him wrong. So I don't know how I did it, but I managed to get onto a bus and I went to this place in Cork. There was a treatment centre, day program. And I went in and I went to the reception and I was told, she rang the staff and I was told, come back in an hour. So I went down to Cork City and I walked around and I bumped into a couple of friends that were going on to smoke some hash. And for the first time I said, no. I said, come with us. I said, no, I got something to do. So I went back I went back up to that place at 2:00 and the guy saw me. He said, yeah, we'll assess you for this day program. He says, but I want you to do something. He said, have you ever heard of Narcotics Anonymous? I don't know what that is. He says, have you ever heard of Alcoholics Anonymous? I says, yeah. He said, look, it's the same kind of thing. I want you to go to this meeting there tonight. So I went to a meeting that night. I don't know what the fuck they were talking about. I really don't.
How old were you?
I was 21 going on 22.
Oh, yeah.
I don't know what they were talking about. There was two kind of profound moments there for me. Back then you could still smoke in meetings.
Mm-hmm.
So I was smoking rolly tobacco at this stage. Obviously I didn't have the luxury of buying cigarettes because that was too much money. So I sat down and these two guys, one guy became one of my best friends and the other guy ended up becoming my sponsor. my first sponsor. So I sat in, as it happened, I sat in between two of them. One guy asked me, did I want a cup of coffee? I said, yeah, that'd be nice, yeah. And he gave me half a cup. That was my first resentment in the program. Give me half a cup of coffee. I'll get back to that in a second. So I was freaking out, like. So they proceeded to be like, it was like they were making rolls, hand rolled cigarettes, and they just kept on handing them to me. They were making them and handing them to me because I was just chain smoking. The whole way through the meeting, the two of the guys were looking after me doing this. I don't know what was said in the meeting. I do remember at the end of the meeting, I was just told, keep coming back. And that's something about that term, because where I was at this stage, nobody was asking me to come back anymore.
Right.
You know, I was doing a lot of using on my own at this stage, because I was vocalising how insane I was. I was vocalising that using drugs was wrong with people, so they didn't want me using drugs with me anymore. Like, you know, I was nearly getting barred out of pubs and stuff like this. So this is the first time I'd heard in a long time to come back. I knew at this stage I wasn't even wanted in my own house.
Yeah.
The guy that made me the coffee, he became my sponsor.
Half a cup.
Yeah. And I told him, I started going to meetings, I told him that I was pissed off that he gave me half a cup of coffee. And he laughed at me. This is the practical nature of recovery. He says, do you know why I gave you half a cup of coffee? I said, no. He says, I gave you half a cup of coffee because you were shaking like a leaf. And I didn't want to give you a full cup so you'd spill it all over your junk. You know?
Yeah.
So it was the practical stuff. You know, I picked this guy because he was, you know, started going to a few meetings. And you're sitting in meetings and people are going like, they're all smiling and shit, but they're saying they're addicts. And I didn't want to be an addict. And I came to Narcotics Anonymous not to change my life. I just wanted to find out how to use drugs successfully, because I thought that's what the gig was about. And I had eyes that had been deceiving me for a long time. So I remember early on, I looking up at the 12 steps on the wall, and for some reason I looked at the 11th step, and I thought it said we saw through prayer and medication. So I thought, that's what goes on here. So you'll hang around for a while, you know, you'll do your rattle, whatever, and then they'll show you how to do controlled using or that. Like that's how fucked I was. But I started that day program as well. It was only a really small part of my story, so I very rarely mention that I was in treatment, because it's irrelevant as far as I'm concerned. Because, you know, I got to a 12-step program, so I talk about a 12-step program.
Yeah. No, I hear you.
Yeah.
So it's a good place to start. We could talk about resentments. A resentment that you had when you first got clean, and if you have any now. Besides the half a cup of coffee.
Yeah. Well, obviously, I told you I got clean out of resentments. So my father was a big part of my early recovery. I actually moved out. My staff member at the time of the day program says you need to move out of that house. You won't stay clean. Because they were so damaged, so hurt. They took my addiction as a personal failing on their part, which it wasn't their fault. No, it certainly wasn't. But my father wanted kind of some sort of. He was looking for answers that weren't healthy. He wanted to know how deeply involved I was in drugs. He wanted to know like who I was dealing for, all this. You know, he wanted that kind of stuff. He wanted really kind of. I don't know why. He'd actually called to the police. And they said, yeah, we have a dossier on your son. It's only a question of time before we kill him. So he was really impacted by it, like. And the kind of emotional stuff, and he was finding it very difficult to process his emotions around it, as was I. Mm-hmm. That I would have picked up on the guilt of it all. So I had moved out, which was great, because then I could start looking back. I'd started the steps, and eventually I got my first fourth step, and I could start looking into the patterns and the behaviours and the stuff that was on me and the stuff that wasn't on me. I never moved back home. I never asked them for anything since I moved out. I became basically.
Is that resentment?
I think I just became very self-reliant.
Yeah.
Maybe start with some was a shame guilt that I felt I couldn't ask them for a dig out for, you know. But I became very much independent.
Mm.
But when I go back home, the first few years, I'd feel like a 10-year-old boy again going into the house. You know, I
I think that's natural for
yeah,
all of
I
us.
felt my father's persona was too big for me. I couldn't take it. He still had an ability to make me blush and stuff like this, and I'd still get riled up by him, and I'd still react to him.
Even today?
I would have. No, not today. No, I just laugh at him because I know the way he is. I know a lot of your listeners are American, but one thing, and I know you spent a few days in Cork, but one thing about Cork people is in Ireland we're renowned for our kind of sarcasm and our kind of our dark wit, and there's a lot of kind of, we call it slagging, you know, winding people up. There's a lot of that kind of banter stuff. It wasn't banter for me. It was deadly serious stuff. Like, but over the years, I softened and I started seeing him from what he was. I did a lot of praying for him. I think distance was a powerful thing for me. Funny enough, I mean, I left Cork. I moved from Cork 22 years ago, and I moved up to this side of the country where we are now. And I see that. I didn't move here for nothing. I didn't move. You know, there's reasons why I moved away from my family. There's a lot of toxicity. There's different levels of toxicity, which I couldn't deal with.
Yeah. I get that.
Yeah.
I went through the same thing.
Yeah.
So the resentment, do you have any today?
Oh, right. Oh, yeah. Well, I suppose I have to talk about the one I suppose my primary resentment at the moment would be against my ex-wife.
Yeah.
Yeah, we got separated. It'll be 2 years in August. She ended our marriage. We were married. We were together 20 odd years.
20 years.
20 odd years, yeah.
It's a long time.
Yeah, 3 kids. I adopted my daughter, who would have been her child.
Mm-hmm.
With 2 boys. The gift of staying clean is none of those people have ever seen me use.
Yeah.
That's a gift. But I was involved in a very intensive career. I was telling you that I worked with juvenile delinquents for 23 years. Very stressful, very traumatic area to work in. I developed PTSD. I've been subsequently retired from that.
No kidding.
Gone on that 2 years. 2 years. Yeah, it was 2 years last month. I was retired off on the grounds of ill health.
It was just a very traumatic thing.
Very traumatic.
The kids?
Becoming a father was very difficult. And I'd moved up from Cork when she got pregnant with our first son. And I landed up here with no one. My connection to fellowship was starting to break down. There'd been some shit had gone on within the fellowship when I left Cork. And people I got clean with, they all left. You know, I was only talking to someone March at a convention, you know, myself and another guy were the only 2 guys that are there. That's been, I was first time.
Wow.
Yeah, and he was an all-timer at the time. He had 9 months. You know, but we're the only 2 left. Some of the guys went off, as I said, they found social acceptability in careers and this and that. Some of them went to some of them relapsed, but I would be, me and that other guy would be the only 2 that would still attend meetings. But I didn't religiously attend meetings because I stopped going. I thought I got well. You know, I got all the trappings of a good recovery.
Yeah.
You know, I had the wife, I had the kids, I had the mortgage, I had the car, I had the dog, I had the cat, I even had a goldfish. And I thought, oh, this is grand. And I was at a point in my recovery where I was starting to find listening to people's troubles boring. And I felt apart from.
And that's what the kids?
I started feeling apart from. Because I have friends in the States, and you know, one friend of mine, he says, your time over here is a big deal. Like, I was talking to you about this. I know you over in California. You know, you're coming up on 40 years. I mean, it's not uncommon for you to sit around people with the same length of time and probably more, 50 years, whatever. You know, you would have been talking to my partner yesterday. She'd tell you, very rare is I'm sitting in a meeting where there's anyone anywhere near me time. And I know it's not about time. I say that as well. But sometimes for other people, my time is a bigger deal than it's ever been for me. Like, that's people would have been putting me on pedestals, and sometimes I'd jump down off the pedestals. Sometimes I'd increase the height of the pedestal. You know, and I was finding that my place in the fellowship, nobody wanted to listen to me or talk to me. It was like nobody was into. I think people around me didn't know that they could talk to me about what I was feeling and thinking. As if somehow I was beyond that my feelings and stuff were something that they didn't have access to. So I had been sponsoring a guy, and unfortunately he passed away. He died clean, died training for a triathlon. He got a heart attack. He'd had 8 years, and he was like my last link fellowship. Then COVID came. Remember we were talking yesterday?
Oh, yeah.
Which amazes me, like anyone that got clean during COVID through Zoom meetings, I don't know how they did it, but hats off to them, because I couldn't do that. It was like the perfect storm. I just kind of stepped away from the fellowship, and I was dealing with all this stuff in work. I was dealing with kids who, some of them have more complex issues than others. I have a son who's got dyspraxia. I had two other kids who were severely bullied and stuff like that, and struggled with their own mental health. And I was struggling with my own mental health, my career. My ex-wife was off her banger in other ways.
Off her banger?
Yeah, that just means she's crazy.
Okay.
Judgy, yeah. But yeah, I mean, it all came to a head. And thank God that the fellowship didn't close its doors on me, like. So we ended up separating. And over the years, I didn't go to meetings. I wouldn't use purely an ego. I wasn't going to give someone the satisfaction of saying, "Oh, there's Tony, he's after me. Look, he's staggering out of the pub," or this or that. It was just pure. I was staying clean on pure ego, like. When I came back to the fellowship, it was like it was crazy how it works again. How my higher power puts things in my path or takes things from me just to protect me. I was going for a coffee. I was doing that a lot at this stage. I was going for coffees on my own anyway. But I went to this coffee, trying to process the fact that my marriage was fucked. Excuse my French. And the next thing, there was 2 guys standing behind me in the queue. And I had sponsored one of them. And I knew the other guy. And I didn't know this, but the guy I'd sponsored had relapsed. He had about 2 days.
Wow.
And he was rattling. And the other guy was with him. And I was walking around with headphones because I didn't interact with people. I just didn't want to talk to the universe. Like, I had grudgingly took I says, "Oh, for fuck's sake." I remember like looking at him, what the fuck? Next thing, my friend Lenny says, "Yeah, Paulie's back here. He's struggling." Paul said to me, he says, "I'm going to go to a meeting tonight." He said, "Will you come with me?" I said, "Okay." Not for me, I was doing it for him. And then I just went out, had a coffee.
Well, that's what you might have thought at the time.
Yeah, I know. And I went out and had a coffee, and I just, long time since I connected with my higher power, and I just said, "Fuck you." That's basically what I said. I get it.
Yeah.
Okay. And I've been going back to meetings religiously since.
That's what we say, your higher power will do for you what you couldn't do.
Yeah. I mean, my sponsor has spoken to me about this because there was so much shame around leaving the fellowship. As I lost out. You lose out on a lot when you don't go to meetings. You don't see people growing. There's a lot of things you miss out on.
Yeah.
And a lot of shame and a lot of kind of guilt because my recovery has given me so much. I've been living a life beyond my wildest dreams. My sponsor had to give out to me, you know. I wanted to stop talking about the fact you stopped going to meetings. You stay clean, that's the end of it. You have experience on it, move on. Start another round of steps, and I finished the 4th step a couple of months ago. I got in the depths of my despair about my separation. I mean, the breakdown was horrific.
So what was the resentment?
She fucked me up. That's how I put it. I mean,
Keep it
I had all
simple.
these feelings, yeah. I mean, she had become, in a sense, she'd nearly become my higher power, but it was like my entire life had been pulled out from underneath me. The house and stuff like that, everything was gone. And I couldn't understand it. And I couldn't accept it. And she got very nasty afterwards. I know my part. I know I wasn't a great
I was
husband.
going to ask, do you resent yourself at some point?
I hated myself for what had gone down. I hate, yeah. And that's exactly the word I'd use, is hate. I've come to see that I did what I did, and that's where I was, and I accepted it. There's always there's a consequence. There's always a spiritual consequence for how we act. So I take my part. I suppose the reason I would have struggled so much with the resentment is that what's the term I use? She activated what I would call a bitch switch. She did and said things about me that were completely unforgivable and were untrue. My character was challenged. There was a narrative created around me that it wasn't true, and I couldn't accept the fact that people were accepting it. So I became very hateful towards her. I moved out subsequently. She moved on pretty quickly as well. That was probably another real kick in my stones and my ego. We broke up, as I said, at the start of September, and she was in a relationship not long after Christmas. But I mean, there's been a lot of work, a lot of. I had to do therapy. I've had to do a lot of work with my sponsor and stuff. But I can see that probably the relationship was dead long before we finished.
Yeah,
it was over years ago.
We say you stayed in the relationship beyond its expiration.
Oh yeah,
date.
yeah. It was long gone.
Yeah.
I was like a Rottweiler holding onto a sock, I suppose. I should have let go long before that. I'm glad I did now, because the life I have and the life I've been living since we've separated has been unbelievable. A lot of sleepless nights.
You say are you still separated, or are you?
Oh yeah,
divorced?
we will go through divorce. It takes 2 years here to get divorced.
Oh yeah.
Yeah,
So
so
pretty
I
soon.
let her pull the trigger, because it's not cheap to get divorced.
Oh, really?
So I let her set the agenda. I'm not typical addict. I like my money too much. I'm not going to spend money until I don't have to. I let her do it.
All right.
I try to have a relationship with my kids. 2 of them don't speak to me. They've taken their mum's side. I have a relationship with the youngest son. I was telling you that. I worry about him. I worry about the dynamics in that household. But I just can't get into the ring and engage because it's too dangerous.
Yeah. No, I hear you. So that was resentment. So do you remember reservations when you first got clean?
Alcohol. I said it straight off the bat.
Oh,
Alcohol
yeah?
was the one, yeah. I mean, I was told just put it on the shelf. I learned pretty fast. I mean, when I got clean first, we would have to go to both fellowships.
Yeah.
The fellowship was very small in Cork.
Same.
I say that to people now. I went to the other fellowship, so you didn't have to.
Really?
Yeah. Like we had to start getting meetings going. We did. I'm ever grateful for the members of Alcoholics Anonymous. I'm forever grateful for my first sponsor, who taught me so much about traditions and told me, you don't piss on someone's carpet when you come into their house. So he taught me to identify as an alcoholic when I went to AA, and told me that you don't talk about drug use in AA, because AA is about alcoholism. I learned that stuff, but I would have had a reservation. It's funny, like, people you say to, and I know you got clean when you were young as well, but I used to hate when people say to me, "Oh, you're so lucky to get this young." I used to go, when you already did, fuck, thinking I'd missed out on something. The only time I was actually told I was too young to be in recovery was actually in an AA meeting.
Yeah.
The guy said to me, "What age are you?" He says, "Just gone 22. He says, "You couldn't be an alcoholic." So he said to me, he says, "Because the legal age to drink in Ireland is 18. I know this guy had long-term sobriety. But he was the only one that ever said something to me. But I thought, because of we walked around Dublin yesterday, and I was saying to you, the way it's just, the Irish culture has been so, at the time, was so built around the pub. And I remember sitting in a group with my father, and he said one of his biggest regrets about me being an addict is that he would never be able to sit in the pub and have that pint with me. You know, that father and son. So probably for about the first year, I had to just consider, I'll take a look at alcohol later. And then I realised, no, it's not for me. Early recovery, I would have had reservations about if something happened to my parents.
Yeah, that's typical.
I probably would have said to someone, you know, if I ever got married and they broke up, I'd use. Reservation from the alcohol is gone. I've stayed around long enough to realise that, unfortunately, my parents do have an expiry date as well. And the age I'm at, it's a cold hard fact. I will probably have to watch them pass.
Yeah.
I came, literally, the closest I ever came to using was when we got separated. I went to a meeting on a Friday night. It was about a year after we were separated, and I realised that she was actually seeing someone. You see, I was living in the house and I was doing things that, all my friends, you need to move out. I wouldn't listen. Response, you can't engage. You need to look at her like a bag of crack in your kitchen. You cannot be talking to her. All that stuff, I wouldn't listen because, typical us addicts, we know best, and, we find out ourselves. I realised she actually was in a relationship.
After a year and you're still living there?
I realised, So I went to a meeting that night, sat down, I went for coffee afterwards. I love having coffee after meetings. It's so important. Came home, I bought 2 cans of Red Bull. I drove home. I bought my son a 2-litre bottle of vodka about 2 years before. It was never opened. It was still in the fridge. Went into the kitchen, got a pint glass, took the vodka out, sat in the back garden because I was living in a log cabin on the same property but separate. Opened the bottle of vodka, poured one of the cans of Red Bull into the pint glass. Now, you see, I'm of a generation, I never got to drink vodka and Red Bull because Red Bull didn't exist when I was drinking. So I said, oh yeah. So I opened that bottle and as I'm doing right now, Kevin, I was smoking a cigarette and I said, what I'll do is I'll smoke 2 or 3 cigarettes and then we'll decide. So the bottle was opened. Like, just literally, like, I have the microphone here in front of me.
Yeah.
And 50 minutes passed and I put this top back on it. And again, we talked about resentment and power of resentment, and there's a certain energy. I think resentment's a great at times, I'll be honest with you. I know people sometimes think resentment's not a good thing. I think resentment can create a lot of energy and a lot of growth if it's channeled properly. The only reason I didn't drink was I'm not going to give that bitch the satisfaction of knowing that I drank. And I put the bottle away. I'd had to write about that in my 4th step, but today, I don't know. I suppose if there was an outstanding reservation, but I know you're a parent as well, is that something you really like thinking about? If something happened to my kids, sometimes we hold on to a thought and next thing it takes a mind of its own, and next thing you're down a dark alleyway and there's all sorts of... I don't really believe this happened. I have justification to use on because I've had friends who've recovered from throat cancer. I know you're friends with Roseanne as well. I see that lady, she's an amazing woman. I see some of the physical situations she's gone through and she continues to stay clean. I think the joy of staying clean is you'll hear someone and you'll go, right, it is possible.
Yeah, I have witnessed friends lose a child before and stay clean.
Yeah, it is possible you can get through this.
Yeah. That, and I have faith in the people I've surrounded myself with.
Yeah, I've got some good
people. They won't leave me alone.
Yeah. I mean, my sponsor lives in the States, lives in California. We were friends before she sponsored me. Yes, she's a woman. She works for me. It's perfect. She's got nearly 40 years. She's in a loving relationship. And her partner has coming up on 48 years. She was one of the reasons I stayed clean through that breakup. And funny enough, I happened to meet you on this thing. So in desperation, because I wasn't sleeping at the start of my relationship, I went on to 2 Zoom meetings, which were in the States, based in California. They'd be 3, 4 o'clock in the morning here in Ireland.
Mm-hmm.
And somewhere along the line, I said, because I have friends in Utah as well, you know my friend Tim, we both know him. I said, if I can get through this, and I said, I'll get over to the States, and if I get over to the States for 2 or 3 weeks and hang with people, I'll be okay. So there was like a beacon in the dark, these
awesome.
Zoom meetings and stuff. And that's how we got to met. That's why I was in Utah.
Really?
I was in the horrors. You know, my friend Tim and his wife Shanna, I know she was involved in the convention committee. That's how I got to meet you over there. That was a bucket list thing, you know. So I went from the pits, sleeping in a log cabin at foot, not able to sleep 4 or 5 in the morning, to go into the Swakna in St. George, and then also to be able to swim in the Pacific Ocean.
Yeah, no shit, huh?
You know, and I told you about the size of my hand, that the universe was the size of my hand. And here's this Irish guy that's swimming in the Pacific. Or asked to share in a meeting in California, ground zero of Narcotics Anonymous. Just really unbelievable stuff. I can see how my higher powers worked all the way through my life.
Yeah. Yeah, so no real reservations?
Waffling on there, small bit, Kevin. That's the joy of talking to an Irishman.
Yeah. So we did resentments, reservations. How about fears?
Fears.
Fears when you first got clean, and any fears today?
I suppose the fear I had when I got clean first is that my life was over.
Because you wouldn't have any fun?
Yeah, my life was over. That's what I thought. You know,
Yeah.
21. I mean, everybody I knew was everybody. Not everybody I knew was an addict, by the way. But you know, in Ireland, you go to the pub, you do this, you do that. You know, I thought, I don't be crass about this, but I'll be straight and say exactly what I thought.
Yeah.
I thought the way my life was going to end up is that I would be sitting in a 1-bedroom apartment on a Saturday night, masturbating into a sock. I thought that was going to be the high point of my life, like, because I didn't think I'd be able to go out and experience stuff and do stuff. And I know a lot of my friends in the States found it strange, and I know I was saying this to you. I didn't stop going to bars and stuff. I put on a nice solid foundation in recovery, and we started going out socialising. There was another bunch of us. We were all young. What were we going to do? The fellowship in Ireland is tiny compared to California or anywhere else.
Yeah.
I know, having visited the States, that if I was living there, I could happily live a life surrounded by people in recovery exclusively. But I don't live in that world over here. So I had to learn to go out and interact, like. I don't have fear of being around alcohol or drugs in general, because proximity has never been my problem. The biggest trigger I have is the thing between my ears.
Yeah.
You know, it's like all my relationships up to today, I'm now in a relationship with someone in recovery. I would have had alcohol in my house because my ex-wife drank, and, you know, this was the thing. That fear has been blown out of the water. Been absolutely blown out of the water. I suppose the strongest fear I'd have had writing that 4th step earlier this year was the fear of being on my own. And I don't mean in a sexual way or anything like that. Afraid of dying a lonely old man, because the breakdown of my marriage was like ripples in a pond. It was more than that. There was a social circle as well, were just completely removed from me because sides were taken. As I said, I'm struggling. Unfortunately, 2 of my kids aren't talking to me. I was afraid that I have a fear that I will be that lonely old man who's, you know, walks around the streets with a bit of clothesline on a dog as a lead. I'd be one of those guys.
But you're not.
But I'm not. I won't be.
You have that fear is valid.
Yeah.
Right? But you have enough experience today.
Yeah.
To know that you don't ever have to be alone.
Yeah, but fear isn't always rational.
Yeah.
It's not rational a lot of them. I mean, no, there's different fears. I mean, if I stand on the edge of the cliffs of Moher, it's quite natural to have a fear of falling off, like. But, like, then there's, like, the irrational fears that people have, like, you know, fear of flying. It's not rational. I mean, I say, like, I kind of, many ways, even though I know this is a disease of the mind a lot, I'm quite logical in many ways, like. You know, people say, "Oh, would you not be afraid of flying to the States?" And I'd laugh at them. Go, why would I be afraid of getting on the plane? I should be more afraid of getting into the car going up the motorway, because statistically that's where I'm going to get taken out, you know. Fear of the unknown would have been a big thing in early recovery. But I've lived so much. I've been so blessed. I mean, that's the thing with time, I think. You get experiences, you get to see shit.
Yeah, so you don't have fear of the unknown anymore.
No. I know I'm okay. I'm in the care of. But I think it's human nature that no one wants to be on their own. But I do know that about me, that I put myself in some horrible situations out of fear of being on my own. Because I would have ended up in the most dysfunctional relationships and the rest of it. You know? Again, one term, navel gazing, and writing the inventory, I kind of can look back and see.
Wait, say that again?
Navel gazing, you know, looking at your belly button, you know, you say that. Like about therapy, you'd say, oh, there's a lot of navel gazing you're doing there, you know, looking in at yourself. I can see that my ex-wife was a wonderful human being, like, but I don't think me and her should have been together as long as we were, like.
Yeah, that happens a lot.
Yeah, you know, so that kind of fear of being on my own, and there was fear of not being socially acceptable as well, you know. You know, there's like a criteria I would have felt for a long time, you know, to be within the social norm. You're supposed to have this, you're supposed to have that, you know. Yeah. I'm a black sheep. There's a black sheep in my family, and today I'm okay with it. You know, I mean, the way I dress still is, you know, dress the way I want to dress. I have earrings, I have tattoos, I have this, I have that. A lot of people say, well, you're nearly 55. You should be, you know what I mean? You should be joining the country club. You should be playing golf. You know, that's not my gig, like.
Yeah. I love that when people say should.
Yeah, should.
Should equals
really judgy words, yeah.
Expectation, right? Expectations leads to being let down.
My sponsor knocked that out of me. She said, "You don't say should. I choose." She changes my language with me. Like, she says, you know, you choose to walk the steps. You don't have to do it. You choose to stay clean.
You shouldn't be at this point in your recovery.
Yeah. And you know, the thing she says to me, you know, she says, oh, don't tell me how you're feeling. I'm not interested in how you're feeling. Tell me how you're living. Huh. Which I think is a powerful thing, because my feelings aren't always true. Like, they're not always facts.
Yes.
But I know we're all sensitive souls, and I know that. Sometimes I get a feeling that just jumps into my brain and it becomes something completely blown out of proportion.
I like how she makes you change your language. Yeah, I do that with people. People that I sponsor.
Yeah, she's amazing. She's full of kind of symbolism as well, and physical stuff. Though that suits me, because I took a lot of acid, so I like the visual. You know, little things and little tips to settle me.
You ever heard of the 2-foot drop? 2-foot drop. We use it in the States.
What's that?
From your head to your heart. So a lot of times, like we will try to analyze and think our way into a solution. Yeah. Well, the 2-foot drop, instead of thinking about it, you feel about it. Yeah. And you can do a physical drop into your heart. So the 2-foot drop is like, just like your sponsor was.
Is that like through meditation kind of? Is it?
No, more like changing the perspective.
Yeah. Well, I suppose some of that stuff would be linked to kind of CBT. So I would have done, like, you know, cognitive behavioral therapy. Yeah. I would have had to do that with PTSD. So I would have done work around that to kind of see what's real and what's not, what's rational and what's not, you know, see where your feeling is. And yeah. It's
more like instead of saying I think, say I feel. Yeah. And then
it changes, but sure, I know. I mean, I'm sure you've heard that. I mean, a lot of us will have heard that. Like, you know, my best thinking got me into Narcotics Anonymous. Like, my best thinking had me using and stuff like that. So I can't think my way out of this problem. Like, you know, I try and seek spiritual solutions. I don't a lot of people probably don't think I'm very spiritual. You know, but I do.
Why do they say that?
Probably because you know. I know Charlene would have said to you, sometimes I can be quite blunt and stuff like that about honesty and stuff like that. I think sometimes people in recovery seem to have this perception that if you're spiritual, you're somewhat kind of like you're like a swan going across a lake.
Oh.
But I always say about swans going across a lake, if you look under the water, you should see their legs because they're flapping like crazy to do that. But I do. I know God is with me all the time. And generally, God works through people, places, and things for me. That's it. And I find peace in nature.
Yeah. Yeah, me too.
Same with meditation. I'm not one I wish I was. Maybe at some stage in the future I'll get take a look into it. But I'm not one, and I know talking to you now, I know you have a very strong meditative side to you. With meditation, I'm not one of those people that can sit in silence.
Well,
To
I'm
connect.
just glad that you don't think it's prayer and medication anymore.
No.
That's a good one, though.
No, yeah. And unfortunately, that's I suppose going off track at times, and because the fellowship is getting older, there are times where medication is necessary as well.
Yeah.
But that's an outside issue.
Yeah.
And I'm not a doctor, so I don't comment on it.
Yeah. No. So reservations, resentments, fears. What about the biggest part of your relationships in early recovery? Talked about your ex-wife. And did you have any of those fears after your relationship with her affect the way you got into other relationships?
Well, I mean, obviously,
Like you heard the term being gun shy?
what's that?
Yeah.
What does that mean?
Gun shy is like you had a traumatic relationship.
Yeah.
And so you're nervous or scared to get into another one?
Yeah, I mean, look, I've had a few traumatic relationships.
Yeah.
I also learned along the way, like, grudgingly, that I was a common denominator in all of them.
Yeah.
And I said that to you yesterday. I was told early on, your picker was fucked.
Yeah. We do the same thing.
You need to I needed to grieve. I needed to see what I wanted, and I needed to find out what I didn't want. And I didn't go looking. That's the mad thing. Funny enough, that's how I met my ex-wife. When I actually met her, I wasn't even looking for a relationship.
Yeah.
It kind of came along that way. I just kind of literally handed it over to God. I said, look, go on, have at it. And did. Kind of put someone in my path. I heard someone sharing that in a speaker tape one time, saying, don't worry about relationships. Your higher power is already getting your partner ready for you.
Yeah.
And I believe that I was given something. I am in a relationship with someone. It's the first time in my life I'm in a relationship with someone in recovery.
Really?
Yeah, I've never done that. It was a kind of a taboo thing here in early recovery. I know
is that like common in Ireland, or is
it's
that just
common
you?
now. I mean, the fellowship was small, but back then it would have been like, I heard you using the term 13-step there yesterday, like, and this whole thing of predatory behavior or whatever it was. So I kind of didn't look.
In the rooms?
No.
Is it because it's just a small fishbowl?
Yeah, small fishbowl, yeah. But sure, there's plenty of crazy outside the rooms as well.
Yeah.
And that's what I gravitated to. I mean, I said that last week. I mean, when my first relationship, I mean, I wasn't looking for a brain surgeon. I mean, I was looking for someone who could operate at my level. I didn't realise that. Like, I had a lot of skew-weight kind of perceptions as well. I thought, like, I looked at my father and I thought I had to be like a caveman. I had to mind him and stuff like this, and I fall very quickly for people, But with time, I kind of see that, females are very strong individuals. They don't need a man to mind them. It's not my job to mind someone. And I've learned about myself that sometimes it's hard enough even just looking after me, never mind trying to take someone else's shit on board. Like, so I navigated the waters. I don't think I'm that bad a guy. Like, I struggle with that stuff. The assets, my sponsor says to me, you need to be more positive and talk about your assets as well. It's not all doom and gloom.
That's one of the questions.
Yeah, we'll get around to that in a minute. Thanks a million. That's probably the happy ending of this conversation. Is it? Just kill me at the end with kindness, yeah. But yeah, the girl I'd met, we work.
We have a very similar story. Like I married outside of the rooms, and it was tragic.
Yeah.
Same toxic environment,
Yeah.
behavior, ex-wife,
Yeah.
kids.
Yeah. I don't
Very
think,
similar.
Yeah, I don't think it started out toxic, but it became toxic. Obviously, I mean, nobody looks to get into a relationship that ultimately is going to break their heart or fuck them up. Like, but you know,
Yeah.
I was looking through. I can see that. I mean, I was probably looking for stuff that's not actually humanly possible. I was looking for that perfect scenario, and there's no perfection in recovery. And my control issues and stuff. I'm well aware of some of the stuff. I like my relationships didn't all end because she was a bad person. And I know my part to play. Like,
Yeah.
and I said that actually, funny enough, to my ex-wife. When I met her, I said that she was the accumulation of all my other failures. In that, you fall down, you get back up, you dust yourself off, you move on. Through trial and error, I suppose that's literally what it was. Through trial and error, you actually find out what's good for you, not what you think is good for you.
Do they do when after a relationship? Do they do the list in Ireland?
What's that?
After a relationship, you on one side of the paper you write down everything that you didn't like in the relationship that didn't work for you, and then on the other side all the things that you look for in a
No,
relationship.
I've never done that formally.
Have you heard of it?
No, I haven't actually, but I can obviously see the benefit of that.
Yeah. So all the stuff on this side of the paper.
Yeah, there was
the things that you want in your next relationship.
Yeah. I didn't do that.
You'd have to be willing for you to bring all that stuff into the relationship.
I have had conversations with my current partner, and like we've both discussed about would have deemed non-negotiables.
Oh, good.
Yeah, so
Yeah.
I have said that. I mean, meeting attendance is non-negotiable. No, it's grand. She's in recovery as well, but there's certain things that I would say that prioritize. Sponsees, phone calls, stuff like that. That's a priority at times over my time with her. But but we don't live together. We're a few miles apart. So it's all early navigation. But look, the thing is, on this relationship, I don't have an end game. There's no kind of Little House in the Prairie ending. There's no visualization of fade to black that I'm going to be doing this for the rest of my life. I would say that to my parent. Just enjoy now.
Yeah, so you're living in today.
Even up to my ex-wife, I would have gone into relationships with this kind of Cinderella story kind of shit, that this was going to be it. We were going to end up living, on a cloud of pink bliss forever. Like, end up on 2 rocking chairs getting visited by the grandkids. I don't have that today. Just enjoy what's going on now.
Yeah, so
that's more than enough. I think just for today is about all I can handle most of the time.
Yeah, I agree with you. I like that. All right, so we'll hold off on assets.
You kind of whatever.
Yeah.
You're the boss.
How are you showing your gratitude for your recovery today?
I go to meetings regularly.
Yeah.
If I'm asked to sponsor someone, I will do it.
How many people you sponsor?
I have 4 at the moment.
Yeah.
Sponsorship in Ireland is interesting.
Why?
I don't know, is it a worldwide thing? I was saying this to you. I think a lot of people coming into recovery now, they actually struggle to grasp what Narcotics Anonymous is.
Really?
I feel a lot of people seem to view it like an extension of therapy, group of treatment centres. It's like a dumping ground. A lot of people seem to think that going to meetings is the program, but for me, that's not what the program is. The program is working the 12 steps and trying to absorb the traditions.
Oh, I see what you're saying.
Trying to do some service. Like, it's not about meeting attendance. I hear stuff like, "Oh, meeting makers make it." I say, no, meeting makers just make it to meetings. And that I'm no angel when it comes to step work. I put step work up and down. I'm not a robot, is what I'm saying.
Yeah.
But I know ultimately that's where the freedom lies. I find it's funny. I was on talking to someone about this recently. I've heard people saying that they asked someone to sponsor them, and they get told, if you stay clean for 90 days, come back to me. I don't get that. I don't get why you'd make someone who's struggling, whose ass is in a sling, try and let them do it on their own for 90 days. It's the same around step work. I hear people saying, oh, yeah, I'm not going to start doing steps with you for another 60. And you're kind of going, well, if someone wants to do the fucking steps, do the steps with them, like. Because I didn't have time to fuck around when I got here.
Yeah. Yeah, I know that everybody like sponsors differently.
Oh yeah, it's different, but I think
that's the diversity.
Diversity. I'm not saying my way isn't. I'm not speaking. My way isn't the way to do it necessarily. I'm not everyone's cup of tea, and not everyone's my cup of tea either. But
same.
I can only share what has worked for me. I can only back up my clean time with what has given it to me.
Yeah.
So that's why I be passionate, but. I've softened over the years. I was saying that to you. I mean, it would have been, if I heard people saying clean and sober years ago, I'd have been losing my mind, like stuff like that. I refer to, and again, this is the kind of, I have to be honest, this is the kind of shit I would be talking about in meetings. Bisexuals, people that are going to 2 fellowships, all that stuff. It doesn't matter anymore. It's not my circus.
Yeah.
People, whatever people want to do. I just want people to get clean.
I think
and stay clean, and if whatever works for them, good luck. I mean, I know Narcotics Anonymous doesn't have the exclusivity of keeping people clean, but for this addict here, I say that as it was the last thing I tried and was the first thing that worked.
I think when I hear people at meetings say like clean and sober or whatever, most of the time I just chalk it up as they're probably new.
Yeah.
And
sometimes it's not so new.
Yeah.
Sometimes, that's the personalities and the characters that we have. Like, some people are just going to be cause shit for the sake of causing shit, and I'm a shit stirrer as well.
Yeah. Yeah.
But I'm comfortable. I said this to you, but I'm very passionate about what I believe because I had a good foundation in the program, and I said that to you yesterday. You understand for something, you fall for everything.
Right.
And I know God rest your former sponsor James. I know he stood for things, and I know sometimes that can come across as being scorpy. And we talked about that. Where's the fine line between having a belief and being an asshole? I'm prepared to find out. I'll find out after the fact if I'm an asshole. First, I don't mind being schooled. That's okay.
Yeah, I told you that a lot of people in the States, they thought James was just always angry.
Yeah. No,
and I learned that he wasn't. He was passionate.
Yeah,
he was.
People would, People would think that about me sometimes, but I'm actually. I can't believe I'm saying this. I'm actually a softie.
What?
I am quite soft.
You?
I am quite sensitive. I am soft with people. Like
people are going to find out now.
Yeah.
Tony, you just blew it.
I'm screwed now.
Yeah. Now they're going to expect you to be nice to them.
No. I am nice, but I also know something about being nice. I said this, no drug dealer patted me on the head saying, there. Give me the money tomorrow.
Yeah.
And I was the same in my early recovery. And I believe the truth is probably one of the most offensive things you can ever give an addict first time round anyway.
Yeah.
It will, it'll set you free, yes, but it'll piss you off first.
Very true. So sponsorship, showing gratitude, service?
Yeah, I'm actually, here's my pitch.
All right.
I'm blessed. I've been asked to be the chair of this year's Irish Regional Convention. It's the 40th one. It's on in November 6th. I know we have the World Convention coming here in 2028, but sometimes a smaller convention for anyone listening it can be more fun. Yeah, so I'm the chair of that. I actually have, funny enough, I've kicked it back because I know we're going to go to a meeting later. I have a convention committee meeting later. I did that. I have no problem. I took up a service position recently where I was doing coffee. I wanted to do that because I think that's where, for me, that's where I work best, is in the kind of trenches.
Yeah.
Now, as it turned out, my partner's sponsee took up the position, even though I said I wouldn't be there for a week. And she was going, are you going to say something? I said, no, she needs it more than I do.
Yeah.
But I will help out if I can. I've done PI, I've done HI, as I said, meeting attendance, show up and listen to group conscience. So I try my best. And service is also the outside world. It's not just the fellowship.
True.
I try to be nice. The last 2 years, I found that I realised how low and down I was. I started doing this thing, and my partner laughs at me sometimes when she says to me, I say hello to people. I just say hello because you never know what's going on with someone else.
Yeah.
And I'll talk to anyone. You probably know that at this stage, Kevin, but I love talking to people. I think that's how I express my gratitude.
Yeah, you're not keeping being a nice guy or a softie very secret. The secret's out now. All right, what consequences from your past are you dealing with today? Like you said, you hadn't never got arrested, so there's no felonies.
No. So I suppose the consequences from my past is it's ongoing. I mean, my place in my family, my biological family, is still ongoing. I'm a realist, so I know it'll never be perfect, but I try and show up and do my part, and I know when to walk away as well. And I've learned. I mean, recovery has given me that gift of kind of discretion, knowing when I should speak and when I should say nothing. I try to make myself available. I'm living that consequence, and sometimes it's sad. Sometimes I am the one on the fringes. That is a consequence. Consequences of my past. I suppose I would be permanently scarred from the career I developed in recovery.
The PTSD.
Yeah, I'm permanently scarred. Like, I know that I've got hypervigilance, stuff like that. Sometimes it's useful, sometimes it's not. I do get triggered by things because I was involved in a lot of violent incidents in that job. Guess so sometimes I'm a bit nervy, a bit ropey.
What did you do?
I was care staff. So it's in Ireland we have detention centres. That's for anyone under the age of 18.
Yeah, we were.
So I would have worked on the units. So we weren't prison officers or anything like that. We're actually like, I suppose for your listeners in America, like social workers.
Yeah,
but
counselors.
Social care. Yeah, but you had to. You were on a unit with 8 lads. Very different levels of criminality, mental stuff, the rest of it. So there was a lot of violence, there was a lot of threats. So it was, you were living on your nerves. It was very hard to unwind, It impacted on me. But I mean, the fact that I had to attend meetings as well, some of the consequences of that with my health. So I have type 2 diabetes now.
Do you think that's stress?
I could show you photographs of me over the years, and you can see I was a big unit. Like, I put on a lot of weight. I mean, I'm after losing about what's it? I was 125 kilos. I'm now 75. So I would have done a lot of eating and stuff, blocking out feelings, a lot of unhealthy stuff. So my body reacts. I mean, there's a consequence again. So I mean, I've got cholesterol, I've got blood pressure. I mean, all the stuff I thought when I was a young whippersnapper coming in clean would never happen to me. Like, but no, I'm the old crotchety bastard in the corner, like with the ailments that has to take his pills in the morning.
Yeah.
Of that. The consequence of my marriage breakup, as I said, is I have 2 kids. I have a daughter who hasn't spoken to me in nearly 2 years now. She got engaged a couple of weeks ago. I sent her a message and there was no reply, and I just have to focus and process that kind of stuff.
Does your sponsor help you work through that?
Oh yeah. I'd be lost by my sponsor. I mean, I say that to people. I mean, sponsor isn't just for someone that's coming in the door. Like, it's essential. But I mean, a relation with my sponsor, she doesn't have to kick my ass. She's been more than capable of kicking my own ass.
Yeah.
She puts some manners on me sometimes. Yeah. But a lot of my conversations with my sponsor are more like conversation. That's all they are. They're conversations. It's not that kind of. It's not the way it was when I came home first. I feel like it was like a formal kind of. It seemed more formal for me at the time. Yeah,
in the beginning?
To meet, yeah. In the beginning, yeah. We're friends. I got to know her online. Like, I mean, I know her for 13 years. Got to meet her through Facebook.
Yeah.
I've had the privilege of hanging out with her twice, but we message each other. We FaceTime.
That's really cool.
Yeah, it's cool. Yeah.
I'm friends with people that I sponsor, and it happens sometimes. Some sponsees, we just work steps together, and that's it. And some of us,
I spoke about Neil, God rest him, that died. Died. We were like that. I was broken out. Probably still haven't fully grieved about his loss. But we went beyond the steps, in the sense of same interest in music, clothes, and sport and stuff like that. We were just good friends. I mean, when I was going through all this stuff, I remember a few times crying, saying, "I wish you were here," because I know he'd have helped me through this. But I knew he would help me through it anyway. But
I
would have loved him to be there.
Yeah, I hear that. Consequences. All right, assets. What assets do you have that helps you be of service to others? Or just, what are your assets?
I'd like to consider myself fairly open-minded.
Oh, does open-minded also include accepting?
Yeah, I think so, yeah. I think the world we live in is so fucked up now. It's so polarized, and there's so much hate. Not, in the world, never mind just around someone, but some of the messages that are conveyed. It's very hard to function in that sometimes, I think. When I say I'm open-minded, but I'm also, I wouldn't say closed-minded. I have a sense of justice.
Yeah.
I'm a believer in people being treated fairly.
Yeah, you said that about James, like he stands up for something, right?
Yeah.
So you stand up for what you believe?
Yeah, I've learned over time in recovery, I think it is an asset. I don't fall into the whole, oh, God bless them, kind of victim stuff I see sometimes going on in the fellowship and recovery. Everyone's like, oh, we rally around that, but sometimes they're not actually playing the victim at all, they're just playing people. I give time to people. I'm blessed now because I'm retired. This is what I do.
Yeah.
Go to meetings and stuff. I give my time.
Yeah, that's a good one. That's very valuable.
I think I have a good sense of humor.
You think you're funny?
Sometimes. Some people...
No, you are.
It takes a while for some people. So, I know my trips to the States, people I probably raised the eyebrows. I've been very good here today. I haven't cursed as much as I generally do.
We curse on this podcast.
My language is quite colourful at times.
Yeah.
I have... I won't say it's cynicism because that's not really an asset.
Humor?
I think I have a pretty clear vision of the world. And I can laugh at the stupidity of the whole fucking sorry affair. I think there's so much stuff that's just, if you didn't laugh at it, you'd never leave your house.
Yeah.
And I do that a lot with my recovery. I laugh. I try not to take my disease seriously, but I take my recovery deadly seriously. And I'll be honest with you, shock horror, I still like a bit of crazy.
Still like a bit of what?
I still like a bit of crazy.
Oh, okay.
I still sometimes, some people are going, oh, I couldn't sit down and listen to him. No, I sometimes love listening to that guy that's fucking batshit, that's just after coming in the room and he's making other people grind their teeth. I listen to that shit all day, like.
Yeah.
It's just like, I had a sponsor who said that. He said, like, as a kid, he used to, like, putting his hand as close to the flame and seeing before it started hurting his hand. And he says sometimes he does that in life. He says, go to the edge. I don't take risks for people, I think.
But I have, like, my social circle, I have friends in the social circle, or at least two are those guys that will, like, push the boundary of what's acceptable, and we laugh at it, and it's like it's kind of cringy laugh. Oh, that's really...
Yeah.
I'm talking about Nick, my friend Nick.
Yeah.
Yeah, I count on him to get me to go, ugh, fucking Nick.
Does he push you, like?
He pushes the boundary of humor, like.
Yeah.
like it could be.
Yeah, you see,
borderline.
I suppose that's maybe why I'm not fit for this current generation, because I'm not. I wouldn't say I'm PC. I'm not racist, and I've no homophobia or stuff like that. But I over the years, Jesus, I can't believe you just said that, man.
Yeah.
I said, what's a fucking joke?
Yeah. Yeah,
it's not a dick. Don't take it so hard.
Yeah. Right.
You see, that's the yeah. And sometimes I wonder, do I do that for shock effect and stuff like that? But like when I was doing my asses and stuff, talking about that, like Laurie would have said to me, you need to embrace the good side of you. I still struggle with compliments.
Do you?
Yeah, I would. And
I do too.
I would still be that person at Christmas that wants to buy stuff for people. Jesus, if I get stuff, I'd be like, why'd you do that? I still know there's a lot of work to do with me. As I said, when I came in here, my self-worth was in the fucking toilet. And what I thought was normal was fucked. So today when people are being nice, there's still part of me that goes, ooh, am I worthy of this and stuff like that?
Yeah.
I was telling you that I have friends that make a joke about me and say I'm a big deal and this stuff, like, and I'm at pains to tell them, no, I'm not a big deal.
Right.
I'm at pains to tell them, like, because I'd hate to think if anyone thought that I actually would want to, yeah, I am a big deal. No, I wouldn't like anyone to think that I take up that mantle. It's very hard to talk about, I suppose I'm finishing on assets, it's very hard to talk about humility in my head without coming across as a dick.
No, I hear you. I know.
Yeah.
So my sponsor that just passed a year or so ago, Steve, he had a clear distinction about being on a pedestal. When that happens, it takes away our ability to see him with character defects.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
And then if I put that expectation on him and he acts out on a character defect, then I set myself up.
Yeah, exactly. I get it.
Yeah.
And which I said to you, that had been one of my experiences in the fellowship, that people put me up there, but then there was no one there to help me when I was looking up, because nobody thought they could open their mouth to me.
Yeah.
And the other danger, when someone puts you on a pedestal, you might actually think you're well, and that's a
dangerous. Yeah, very dangerous.
Yeah, that's the danger. Yeah.
No, I'm just as sick as anybody else that walks in the room.
I say, if you hang around me long enough, you'll find it out.
Yeah.
I
said most of my sickness is just still up in my head.
Oh, yeah.
It doesn't come out anymore.
Yeah. We can't be in prison for our thoughts.
Right?
I'd say that to people, I'd be locked up years ago if you knew what I was thinking.
Yeah. That's one of the things I really liked about Steve's clarified the character defect and the shortcoming. The character defect is what we think and the thoughts, right?
Yeah.
And then the shortcoming is the action.
Just carrying it out, yeah.
Yeah. So we asked to have the shortcomings removed.
Yeah.
So we're asking to have our actions removed.
Yeah, change behaviors, yeah.
Yeah. So that works for me.
Yeah, which kind of, ties into the Take My Will in My Life, Guide Me in Recovery, Show Me to Live.
Yeah.
That's all it is. I mean, I would have had to get a dictionary out of will and stuff like that. What is will? That's your thinking and your beliefs. What's a life? Life is the actions that make up a life. So I need something to keep my thinking and my actions in check.
Yeah.
And that's what we do for each other, I think. Ultimately, I think that's what we do. Like, AA is a lifeboat for me. Other members keep me in check.
I agree.
Because if I could do this on my own, I wouldn't be going to meetings.
Yeah.
But I say that now today, and because I tried all that, why do this on your own? It's not as much fun.
Yeah, my friend Ray, he says a true friend is somebody that's willing to tell you the truth, even the fear of the outcome.
Yeah. Yeah.
Like,
saying truth can be highly offensive, and it does take bravery. And I mean, that's true friendship, as you said. If someone's going, listen, man, you're talking absolute shit here, you need to do something.
Yeah.
And I had people over the initial phase of my separation, I'll use that as the most recent example, but they still love me. That's the other joy of it. People will tell you the truth, and they'll still. I'm blessed that I've had people in my life that allow me still to fuck up,
Yeah.
and are there for me.
Yeah. Those
Which
are
is
true
what my higher
friends.
power has done as well for me my entire life.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. That's very cool. Well, what about, I don't know if you've heard some of the episodes all the way through, but at the very end, we like to have a few stories, maybe some crazy stories that you had, or they could be happy ending stories or something that really stands out to you
Well, there's
when you're getting loaded or clean.
there's one that comes to mind actually about my connection with God and knowing that I was being protected. So I told you like that I would have been known to the police.
Yeah.
So I was dealing LSD at one stage, and I had 500 acid tabs in my pocket. And I was in Cork City, and we were already tripping balls, which wasn't a good idea anyway. So then, we were quite heightened as it was, like looking around the place. But we were sitting on this bench building a joint, as you do, like paranoid as fuck, but actually still building a joint in the middle of the town. But these two guys walked up. They were undercover cops, and they stopped us. Now, I to this day, the other guys were freaking out. No, I was carrying, like, I had it in my pocket. I was screwed. For some reason, this kind of calm came over me. And I said, relax, lads, we're doing nothing. Because we'd thrown the joint away, they couldn't catch us on that. So they stopped, they started searching us. And this cop was searching me. And the next thing, do you want my name? I gave my name straight away, and I gave him my address. He had his hand in my pocket. Right? His hand was there. He looked at me and he took his hand out of my pocket, and we were left to go on. So I got clean about 6 months later, and I'm sitting in an AA meeting. And the next thing I look over, I know that guy's fucking face.
No way.
Yeah, so what it turned out was that cop at the time was still drinking. He lived in my estate. He saw my address. He gave me a chance
No
for some
shit.
reason. And instead of going, because I know at the time a guy I knew got 2 years for being caught with that much acid. Instead of me ended up being a rag doll in a prison. I got to get clean. So they're my kind of crazy stories. I mean, I sit in meetings all the time and I hear people talking about all sorts of dramatic, violent stuff and huge quantities and the prison stories and that. That's not my story. You know, I have friends around me that I love to hear a cheer. I want to hear what drug use is like. My drug use wasn't very dramatic, like.
Right.
It wasn't really, like. It was sad. I look at that guy now, and if he was sitting in front of me, well, he was a sad, lost little boy. Like at the end, he didn't use much. He did enough to earn his fucking seat, like. But what I would say to anyone is, the journey since I got clean has been absolutely, you couldn't write it. Stuff I've gone through, experiences I've had, the losses, the gains, the growth, the declines, the whole lot. It's just amazing. And I did what they told me at that first meeting.
Yeah.
And I don't know why, because I'm no different than anyone else. They just told me don't use no matter what. I don't know why I haven't relapsed. I really don't. I have 33 years clean, but I don't have 33 years recovery. I know that for a fact.
Yeah.
I've never been 100% straight on this, and who knows what I'll be like tomorrow. Tomorrow I could wake up and be an asshole, or I could be nice, like, but I don't use no matter what. That's the only message I really have. But things like that prove to me that God was always there. I'd probably just finish on this. I probably would say that there was always a voice inside me telling me to do the right thing. And I firmly believe that, and I've seen it in recovery, that sometimes God has to shout a bit louder. He shouts louder. He's always wanting me to do it. And sometimes he just has to kick me straight in the nuts and say, wake the fuck up.
Yeah.
And looking back on that marriage I lost, I believe that was a kick in the nuts to tell me to wake the fuck up, because it got me back to meetings. Because how do I know? It wouldn't be beyond the realms of the possibility that I would have thought I could have a sociable drink. Because my ex-wife said to me, why do you need to go to meetings anyway? So sometimes things are given to me for a reason, and sometimes they're taken from me for a reason. It's not for me to question the reasons anymore, just to try and live.
Yeah.
You know, I mean, look, what a chance of me sitting here in his kitchen up here in Newry with you. I mean, what are the chances? I mean, we hung out yesterday in Dublin, and you told me one of your sponsors was a guy I was lucky enough to serve at a regional level here. I mean, it just, don't tell me God doesn't exist. Don't.
No, I absolutely agree with you. And it's another thing that's very apparent is that we have such a similar story. Like the cop being in a meeting that you went to.
Yeah.
I had 6-year prison sentence suspended. So if I got in trouble, I was going to go do 6 years. Yeah, you were
telling me that yesterday.
Yeah, so I would have to go pee in a cup, right? And they'd test me.
Yeah.
So I gave him 3 dirty tests. I think maybe 4. And each time he's like, I'm going to have to send you to prison. You give me another dirty test. And I got clean after like the 4th one.
Mm.
But about 4 months later, I was in a meeting, an AA meeting, and he was in the meeting.
Whoa. Yeah.
So very similar.
Yeah. And in relation to my run-ins with criminality and stuff, when I got clean, I was asked by the treatment centre I was in to do a radio interview.
Yeah.
A panel about drug use. And the head of the drug squad in the city was on the panel. We did our thing, and afterward he came up to me and he shook my hand. He says, I knew all about you, he said. And he said to me, he says, I need people like you to do what you're doing. He said, because what I do is lock you up. He said, what you do is change people's lives.
Yeah.
And like, just to be a guy that I hated and running from, and then to tell me this, it was just... You know, you just don't believe the stuff is going to happen to when you put down the drugs.
Mm. You were a counselor. What'd you call it for the juvenile?
Yeah, social care worker. Yeah,
social care worker.
Yeah.
So I was incarcerated as a juvenile. Mm. We call it juvenile hall.
Yeah. Juvie, isn't it? Yeah.
Juvie. Yeah, there was a guy in the same position as you that was like I just called him a guard.
Yeah.
In the unit that I was in, and so many years later, I'm doing H&I, and I'm taking the H&I meeting back into the same juvenile hall that I was locked up in.
So lucky.
In the same unit.
Wow.
And that counselor, or the guard, he had become the supervisor of the whole juvenile hall.
Wow.
So I went in there, and I saw him, and he goes, hey, you know, same thing as the guy approached you. It's this is incredible.
Yeah, it's an amazing journey we have, and that's I tell people, stay one more day, because you don't know whose life you're going to change.
Yeah,
and that's been my experience. You go to another meeting, you hear something, and it just completely blows your mind, and it sends you off on an amazing track, and you know, people bump into you and they find out you're, you know, my sponsor said that to me. He said, you might be the only version of the basic text someone will ever see. Mm. So try to carry yourself in life in all areas, because I know that as well. What I have isn't just for addicts. Mm. I believe I have a responsibility to practice it in all my affairs. I'm very passionate about that. I mean, recovery isn't just about sitting in the circle.
However, you give yourself grace, though, right?
Yeah.
Like if you do make a mistake.
Being that productive member. I mean, I hate society, and I know to be slap bang in the middle of it.
Yeah, but grace enough to be human.
Yeah. I don't have all the answers. I never will. I don't think I want all the answers, because I'd be boring anyway.
Fucking bored.
It would.
Yeah.
It's part of the adventure.
Shit, Tony, this was awesome.
I feel very privileged to be asked to do this. I haven't done something like this in a long, long time. I've never done a podcast. I know I asked a few ladies for you. As I said, I think there's still a bit, unfortunately, there's still a bit of stigma around addiction.
Yeah.
Sure.
I get it. Yeah, I get it.
Yeah.
All right. Well, thank you very much, Tony. Appreciate everybody listening, and I hope you enjoyed the episode. Here, say goodbye.
Goodbye.
Give us an Irish goodbye.
Slán leat. That means goodbye in Irish.
All right.
I hope wherever you are, life goes well for you. Thanks.
Thanks, everybody.
Thank you for hanging out with us today. We really appreciate you being here and being part of this community. Just a quick heads up before we wrap. The people we talk to on this show are just sharing their own personal stories. They do not speak for any specific recovery program or group. It's just their experience, strength, and hope. Well, that's it for now, and please remember that you can follow us on any of your streaming platform that you listen to, and somewhere in there on that streaming platform there is a donate button if you care to help out with our monthly fees that we have to pay to produce each episode, and there's a follow button. There's also somewhere on your streaming platform you can text us and send us a response or email